Professor Zekthanor adjusted his chitinous mandibles nervously as he surveyed the mixed-species classroom at Galactic University Station Theta-7. The weekly combat psychology seminar always drew an eclectic crowd: Valish warriors with their crystalline exoskeletons, Mordrani philosophers whose tentacles writhed with intellectual fervor. And today, one human exchange student named Sarah Chen. The human sat in the back row, her plain features unremarkable by galactic standards. No natural armor, no psychic appendages, no bioluminescent threat displays. Just soft pink skin and those peculiar forward-facing eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Zekthanor had read her file. She was studying xenopsychology, which explained her presence in his advanced course on predator-prey dynamics. Today, Zekthanor announced his translator implant rendering his clicks and hisses into standard galactic. We explore the concept of apex predation through direct observation. A ripple of excitement passed through the class. The Valish students' crystals chimed melodically, while the Mordrani's tentacles coiled tighter with anticipation. Only the human remained perfectly still, though Zekthanor noticed her pupils had dilated slightly, a stress response he'd memorized from the human physiology texts. With theatrical flair, Zekthanor activated the reinforced containment field at the front of the classroom. Inside materialized his pride and joy, a Nithrak hunting beast from the death world of Kalos Prime. The creature stood 8 feet tall, its 6 limbs ending in razor-sharp talons. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its obsidian carapace, and its 3 sets of compound eyes swept the room like targeting systems. When it opened its maw, rows of needle teeth glinted in the artificial light. Several students instinctively recoiled. The Valish crystals shifted to defensive frequencies, and the Mordrani pulled their tentacles close to their bodies. But the human, she leaned forward slightly, studying the beast with clinical interest. The Nithrak, Zekthanor explained, has no natural predators on its homeworld. It hunts in packs, communicates through subsonic vibrations, and has never been successfully domesticated by any species in the known galaxy. Observe how it analyzes each of you as potential prey. Indeed, the creature's head swiveled methodically, pausing on each student. When its gaze fell on the Valish, the patterns on its carapace flickered dismissively, too well armored to be worth the effort. The Mordrani earned longer consideration before the beast apparently decided their psychic defenses made them unpalatable prey. Then it looked at Sarah Chen. The Nithrak went perfectly still, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to a deep, predatory red. Its subsonic growl vibrated through the reinforced floor, and several students gasped as the creature pressed against the energy barrier, separating it from the classroom. Fascinating, Zekthanor murmured. It's fixated on the human. This demonstrates the Nithrak's instinctive ability to identify the most vulnerable. His words were cut short as alarms began blaring. The containment field flickered, its generators straining under the Nithrak's assault. The beast had gone into full hunting mode, its talons raking against the energy barrier with increasing desperation. Panic erupted in the classroom. Students bolted for the exits, their various forms of distress calls creating a cacophony of alien terror. Zekthanor's own survival instincts kicked in as he fumbled for the emergency lockdown controls. Through it all, Sarah Chen remained seated. The containment field failed with a shower of sparks. The Nithrak burst free, its massive form uncoiling with predatory grace as it launched itself directly at the human student. Time seemed to slow. Zekthanor watched in horror, certain he was about to witness the first student fatality in the university's 3-century history. The beast's talons extended, its maw gaped wide, and its hunting shriek filled the air. Sarah Chen looked up at the approaching monster and said very quietly, "No." The Nithrak stopped mid-leap as if it had struck an invisible wall. It landed awkwardly, its compound eyes blinking in apparent confusion. The predatory red faded from its carapace, replaced by muted blues and greens. "Sit," Sarah said, her voice carrying an odd authority that seemed to bypass the universal translator entirely. The 8-foot killing machine sat, The classroom fell, silent except for the soft hum of the life support systems. Zekthanor stared in disbelief as Sarah Chen rose from her seat and walked calmly toward the Nithrak. The beast tracked her movement but remained perfectly still, its head tilted slightly as if listening to something only it could hear. "Good boy," Sarah murmured, reaching out to stroke the creature's obsidian carapace. The Nithrak leaned into her touch, a low purring sound emanating from its chest. "Impossible," Zekthanor whispered. The behavioral conditioning required to achieve such compliance would take years, even decades. No species has ever— "Professor," Sarah interrupted, gently not taking her eyes off the Nithrak. "Has anyone ever tried simply asking?" She scratched behind what Zekthanor supposed were the creature's auditory receptors, and the fearsome predator's eyes half closed in apparent bliss. "Humans have been working with predators for 40,000 years, she continued conversationally. "We've learned that every species, no matter how dangerous, responds to confidence and respect." The Nithrak, seeming to sense the conversation was about it, looked up at Sarah with something that could almost be called affection. She smiled and patted its flank. "Besides, you're not really a monster, are you? You're just scared and confused, far from home." As if to prove her point, the beast settled onto its belly, resting its massive head across her feet like an enormous, lethal lapdog. Zekthanor's mandibles clicked involuntarily as he processed what he'd witnessed. The human hadn't used technology, psychic manipulation, or physical dominance. She'd simply spoken to it, treated it as a being rather than a beast. "How?" he managed to ask. Sarah looked up, her plain human features brightening with a smile that transformed her entire face. "The same way you'd tame any predator, Professor. You recognize that underneath all that armor and those teeth, most creatures just want to belong somewhere." She gestured to the Nithrak, which was now making contented rumbling sounds. "Even apex predators can be pack animals, if you show them the right pack to join." As security teams finally arrived, far too late to be of any use, Zekthanor found himself revising his understanding of human psychology entirely. Perhaps their lack of natural weapons wasn't a weakness after all. Perhaps it had driven them to develop something far more dangerous, the ability to turn any weapon into an ally. The Nithrak, sensing the newcomers, raised its head protectively over Sarah, who simply scratched its chin and whispered, "It's okay. They're friends too." And the monster relaxed, apparently willing to take her word for it.